Can you imagine the societal upheaval that would happen if all of a sudden every woman in the world had a number displayed on their forehead that automatically updated to show how many men she's been with? I know this is a completely ridiculous scenario, but just imagine. Think about it for a second. I think it's actually a really interesting thought experiment. For one thing, I think all the guys that say, I don't care about a woman's past. That's just his. What are you, insecure? That's just her history. That's in the past. All I care about is that she's faithful with me. I think that whole line of reasoning would really be put to the test. Because can you imagine how humiliating it would be just walking around in public holding hands with a woman that has a big fat 37 on her forehead? I'm pretty sure single digits would become a huge flex, and infidelity rates would go way down. Good luck getting away with cheating when your husband can see that you were at a 9 when you left the house and you were at a 10.5 when you came home. I don't even know what that would mean. 10.5? I don't know what that means, but I'm pretty sure it's bad. Can you imagine just walking through the park and you hear some little kid like, Mommy, why are there 3 numbers on your head? Most mommies only have 1 or 2 numbers. But you know what? I actually don't think too much would change in reality. I think probably the biggest change we'd see would just be that pretty much all women in the world would unanimously decide to start wearing burqas or some kind of forehead covering, except for Muslim women. There would be a new hadith or whatever issued immediately stating that all women's foreheads must remain visible at all times. So the whole dynamic between Islam and the rest of the world, that would just be completely flipped on its head. And there'd be all these new products coming out, like special gloves or whatever, promising, just put on these special gloves lined with silver before you touch your coworker's hot dog behind your husband's back, and your number will not increase. Just imagine. There's so many implications here. But okay, so let's assume from here on out that you can't cover the number. Okay, it's just there. It's floating in front of a woman's head like a hologram or something. So you can still see it no matter what. You can't cover it up. I think a lot of Hollywood actresses would suddenly become a lot less popular. I think a lot of these hot Instagram models, these, sexiest women in the world according to whatever magazine, a lot of these women, they would become a whole lot less desirable when we could see all the digits on their forehead, just so many digits, such large numbers. And some of the time, if a woman actually had a small number, she would just blow up in popularity. Because having a low number would be so rare, I'm thinking, the whole crop of current female celebrities would probably end up having to be replaced. Even someone like Ariana Grande, who we all know is going to have a number that's like wrapped around the side of her head, even with someone like that, that's not even trying to hide it, I think once people actually know the truth and you can see the truth right in front of your eyes, it's indisputable. I think a lot of people might wake up at that point. Because it's one thing when it's just kind of this abstract concept, she obviously gets around. She's pretty clear about that in her lyrics, and just the way she dresses, the way she is, it's easy to tell, but we don't have proof. It's not like concrete in our minds. Well, stamp a big old number on her forehead with a whole bunch of digits, and all of a sudden, I don't think anybody wants to listen to Ariana Grande anymore. More like Numero Grande, am I right? But I mean, her fan base is like 80% preteen girls. I don't think parents are going to want their kids listening to Ariana 2674 Grande anymore. That's just a guess. She might only be at like 2,200 something for all I know. I don't really know. But imagine if this applied retroactively too. Like the current number would still appear in old photos and everything. So you can imagine, there might just be a nice family all sitting there in their living room watching the original Harry Potter movies together. These elder millennial parents and their young children. Hey kids, come here. There's something I want you to see. This is a movie from my childhood. So they're all watching Harry Potter together. Then Hermione walks on the screen for the first time and everybody's just flabbergasted. 97? Fucking 97? It just ruins your immersion, So you can't even watch Harry Potter anymore. And lots of you just can't watch them anymore. Harriet the Spy? Probably triple digits. I don't even know who that is, but probably triple digits. But I think just in general, a lot of men would be getting a big wake-up call. Because I think the average number would be a lot higher than people think. Studies always find that the number of lifetime partners an average woman has is somewhere in the range of like 4 to 7. And this is for Western women, by the way. But, of course, these studies aren't actual studies. They're not studies. We're talking about surveys here, which, for some reason, our academic institutions do allow researchers to base their studies on the results of surveys when it comes to, psychology and sociology. They allow that. If you ask me, it doesn't really get any less scientific than survey results being used in a study. But hey, what do I know? I'm just some guy. I'm not a scientist. So the average woman, supposedly, according to all these studies, has about 7 partners over the course of her entire life. And again, that's from a survey. I'm sure they didn't ask about partners that were just like, second base, third base, whatever. Obviously, those should count. Ask any man, second base and third base do count, okay? We need to know, I'm not trying to figure out a woman's average. I need to know a woman's slugging rate, okay? Little baseball metaphor there. I don't even know if that made sense, but whatever. Well, if everybody woke up one day and all the women had numbers on their foreheads, I'm pretty sure we would all figure out real quick that the real average is probably more like, I don't even know, but I'm sure it's at least 2 digits. Probably like 12 to 15, I'm guessing. Although median is really what we should be more interested in. But yeah, I think the median would be about 12 to 15. Average would probably be like 30 or more, just because there's enough turbo floozies out there just racking up quadruple digit body counts. Yeah, that really skews the average. But I think the median would probably be 12 to 15. That's my guess. Let me know in the comments what your guess is. And just think about day one of the numbers appearing. If you've seen the Dawn of the Dead remake, I think it came out in like the early 2000s. The opening scene of that movie is just this crazy action-packed scene showing how on day one of the zombie outbreak, it was just absolute mayhem and carnage all around. Everything's, explosions going on, car crash. It's just crazy, okay? I think that day one of the numbers appearing on women's foreheads would be kind of similar to what happened in Dawn of the Dead. There'd just be, unanimous screaming coming from the inside of every single Asian, Indian, and Muslim American household when all the immigrant parents find out what their American-born daughters have been getting up to. We didn't send you to an American college for these numbers. All the American dads would just be like, yeah, thought so. But, there'd be a new homelessness epidemic consisting entirely of first-generation American teenage girls. And I think we'd finally be done with all the women in STEM initiatives, just collectively as a society. I think even the most radical male feminists coming out of Tel Aviv University or whatever would have to admit, oy vey, we wanted women in STEM, but we didn't want men's STEMs in women. Or I don't know, some of those guys over there might actually be happy about what they're saying. I don't know what goes on over there. And these are jokes, by the way, okay? YouTube AI censorship bots. Everything I'm saying here is a joke, okay? I am a feminist myself. Please move along, okay? These are jokes. But yeah, day one would be absolutely crazy. It'd be a good day to be a divorce lawyer. I know that much. I can say that for sure. Probably millions of men waking up that morning, opening their eyes, and they just see this unbelievably large number floating right in front of their wife's face. What is that? What is that number on my wife's forehead? Honey? Hey, honey, wake up. There's a number on your forehead. So she wakes up thinking like, what the heck? There's a number on my forehead? Let me see. So then she goes and looks in the mirror, and as soon as she sees that big old 24 on her forehead, she's just internally, she's like, oh shit. Because she knows, as soon as she sees, she knows. There's no mistaking that. That's a number she knows well. So she starts sweating bullets just sitting there. She's so nervous, but, she does her best to maintain composure. She just says to her husband, oh, it's probably nothing. I don't think we need to worry about it. By the way, did you get the fence fixed yet? And her husband's just like, honey, there is a big number 24 on your forehead. Did you put that there? Like, how did that get there? Did somebody break in while we were sleeping? Like, we got to figure this out. This is very strange. And she just keeps trying to distract him. Might even actually give him a sloppy gift, so to speak, for the first time in their marriage, just to get him to shut up about it. Oh my God, Lauren, the number just went up to 24.5. But yeah, a lot of women would try to keep it a secret at first, I'm sure. But it wouldn't take long for the truth to come out, because all the zeros and the ones and even the twos and the threes, I think, they would all be bragging about their numbers. So the truth would come out in short order. And we'd probably finally not have to hear about Meghan Markle anymore. Prince Harry, or whichever one it is that married Meghan Markle, he would just quietly divorce her. 3 digits? Well, I never. And, she'd just disappear from the spotlight. So we wouldn't have to hear about Meghan Markle anymore. And plenty more like that. That's just an example I can think of. And here's something else. Feminists would take on a new cause to try to get the decimal system replaced with a vigesimal system. That is a base 20 numeral system, by the way. So basically, larger numbers would have less digits. You wouldn't get to 3 digits until you get to 400, I think. And you wouldn't get to 4 digits until 8,000. So that would be feminists' new number one cause. They wouldn't even care about reproductive rights or whatever anymore. All they would care about would be changing our number system to reduce the amount of digits on foreheads. All of a sudden, every feminist in the world would be some kind of mathematical anthropologist or something, just like, actually, the decimal system was just a tool of colonization that the Europeans used to oppress the native peoples who all... Did you know the native peoples all used a base 20 system before the evil white man came and forced the decimal system upon them just to oppress them? They'd have to be saying this on NPR or something, of course, because nobody's going to be taking these broads seriously when they're sitting there lecturing us about oppression and everything with their big fat 56 visible on their forehead. So they can only... feminism will be a strictly audio format from here on out. You know, they can write books. They can write books about feminism. They can go on NPR and talk about feminism. They won't be doing any interviews. You know, any debate a feminist YouTube video hosted by freaking Jubilee or whatever, that wouldn't even exist because no feminist would want to be seen promoting her ideas, because as soon as she walks up on stage and she's got like the number 36 on her head or whatever, everybody's just going to be like, yeah, okay, we know why you're saying that. And finally, nobody would have to listen to AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez anymore. You know, we wouldn't have to listen to her anymore. She'd probably just be forced to resign when everybody sees the number on her forehead is even bigger than her, well, whatever. But I think a lot of female politicians, they would either get voted out, impeached, or they'd just be forced to resign one way or another. Nancy Pelosi's husband would probably wake up on day one thinking, oh, that's weird, your age is on your forehead. How'd that get there? Little does he know. But I'm sure they'd hammer that out over the next few days. I'm joking, by the way. It's just a joke, okay? It's just a joke. I'm actually, I'm pretty apolitical. I'm not just trying to pick on Democrats. If I knew the names of some of these Republican congresswomen, I would be saying them too. You know, you just know. Some of the, I can't even remember her name. There was the one that was on like a security camera giving a little over the pants kind of situation to her date in the theater. You already know. Some of these Republican congressmen they're going to have some big old numbers on their foreheads, okay? Just like so I'm not picking sides here. I mean, really, I just think across the board, most women's numbers would be a lot higher than most guys think. Can you imagine in middle school classrooms all across the country, when all the teachers are trying to teach their class about the quadratic formula or whatever, but they're just standing up there with a number on their forehead that you could probably take the square root of and it'd still be a 2-digit number? The entire education system would collapse. If you think public school teachers can't control their classrooms now, just imagine what would happen when all these teachers' body counts are out there for everybody to see. But I mean, thinking about it, I actually think it might be a good thing for the school system, because the only solution that makes any sense is you'd have to replace most of the teachers with men. So that might help make education more fair for boys. It might, kind of defeminize the education system, which I think could be good. So maybe that would actually be a good thing. But just imagine some young female high school teacher trying to teach her class about American literature or something the week after spring break, and all the students can see that her number has increased by 2 in a single week. How was your spring break, Miss Johnson? And she's just trying to deflect by pointing at one of the girls in the class. What about Sarah? Her number went up by 10. Or think about like a first grade teacher trying to teach her class how to count. Okay, class, does anyone know what comes after 100? And they're just like, looks like we'll find out pretty soon at the rate you're going, Miss Smith. But seriously, I don't know all the implications. There might be some major downsides that I'm not considering, but it kind of seems to me like it would probably be a good thing if women's body counts were displayed on their foreheads. Like, obviously, there would probably be a major upheaval of the entire social fabric all across the world for a while. We'd have a short period of global unrest, I suppose. I'm sure there'd be some wars, and even just on a familial level, there'd probably be some bad things happening in a lot of households, which I do not support. But at the same time, there would be a lot of truth coming to light. So I think after all the dust clears and things settle down a bit, I think we'd all be better off. And if you're listening to this and you're in a happy marriage or you're in a great, satisfying, meaningful relationship with the woman of your dreams, that's awesome. I'm happy for you. And some of you, I'm sure you just have what you already know confirmed. You know, you got yourself a good one. Great. Low number. It's the exact same number you thought it was. That's great. And I'm very happy for you. But some of you, probably a lot of you, I think you would probably be surprised. But yeah, one thing I know for sure, women's influence on the world would definitely diminish on a global scale. And that could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing, depending on your perspective. Maybe it's neutral, just all depends on your perspective. But I also think certain women's influence might be greater than ever. Like, just imagine an absolutely beautiful, just drop dead gorgeous woman with a 0 on her head. She could rule the world. Imagine the influence and the power. You know, a woman's value would be inversely proportional to the number on her head. Because really, the way society sees it, and this is every society in every culture all across the world throughout all of humanity, I'm pretty sure. The reality is that a woman's count is inversely proportional to the value that society places on her. Right or wrong, that's just how it is. But the thing is, it's very easy for a person to lie about things that tend to happen in private with not a lot of people around to see. You know, it's an easy thing to lie about. But if the number was just magically appeared on all their foreheads, you know, you can't lie anymore. So what we would have would be, finally, a woman's value would actually match what society has always wanted it to be. And again, I'm not saying that's a good thing necessarily. Depends on your perspective. And me personally, as a diehard feminist, I think it would be horrible. But, you know, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about this hypothetical cephalonumeric future. What do you think would happen? Do you think it would be a good thing overall? Or, I mean, I can't really see how it wouldn't be an overall positive, but maybe there's something I'm missing. So let me know in the comments. And please watch some of my other videos if you like this one and you want to help me out. Also, just to let you know, I wrote a very stupid book a while back. It's like a parody kids book. Kind of funny, I guess. So you can get that on Patreon. Link in the description. And as always, thank you for watching.